Hey, what's up, everyone? You are watching the J Video Game Podcast, and today we are going to discuss a company known as Gmode. Gmode is a Japanese IT company that's been around since 2000, and it was founded by Miyaji Takeshi. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Miyaji Takeshi, a lot of them look at him as the legendary game creator of shoot 'em ups, shmups, Silpede, Grandia. He was the guy responsible, and he was also the founder of the company Game Arts Company, the game company that made many games on the PC, the old PC games in the 80s. So, one of the big things that happened back in 2000 was he wanted a company that specifically focused exclusively on mobile phone apps. And so, with NTT Docomo launching its first Java application, the iApply service, Gmode started developing games on their iApply service, and pretty much, games such as Tetris and Othello were so popular. And by 2001, NTT Docomo accounted for 72.5% of the transactions, and it was so popular. I mean, I just remembered back then in Japan of seeing, NTT Docomo this, Docomo that. It was doing really well, and of course, other companies such as Yahoo and KDI, developed their own Java apps as well. But one thing that NTT Docomo did was, popularize the iApply service, and then Gmode would then create its own iApply application distribution site called Get Petite App. You had to be a member of it though. It costs 100 yen per month to become part of it. But already Gmode has had a popular reputation that they had close to 1.4 million users, and that was in 2002. So when they went public, they really were a popular company. And Get Petite App was a popular service, and Tetris was the game that people loved and was being played by 4 million people. Of course, things change, with, unfortunately, with the timing of Miyagi's death in 2011, we also started to see, you know, Google and also Apple having their own app stores, and pretty much, games were becoming bigger, more powerful, were actually requiring more power and requiring more space. And it was one thing that Gmode had difficulty trying to adjust because they were pretty much focusing on the flip phone market, the type of market that was very popular in Japan at the time. So, but yeah, my goodness. I mean, I think a lot of people can remember, if you have been following Japanese culture for a long time, people could probably remember when flip phones were just so dominant. And, you know, even I think I know now that people still in Japan still use flip phones. It's a technology that's just will be there, especially for the elderly. But I think Japan has now become more of an iPhone dominated country. Apple had done a really good job at marketing the iPhone over there. So popular, even more than the Android device. But there are people who have Android devices, but iPhone. I mean, Apple just has a pure um, major reach within the metropolitan cities and so forth. So, but yeah, I think in around the 2004, you had with um, the late 2G and the entry to 3G. You start to see games such as RPGs, such as Freiheit Claudia, become very popular. And then you had, of course, phones such as Docomo's Foma and KDDI's CDMA1, which started to have bigger screens. Game sizes were much larger, Because back then, in 2005, when Gmode was introduced their Mega Apply game, their goal was to handle games up to 10 megabytes. When you think about today's games right now, especially for the Nintendo Switch or even for Steam, well, let's say Nintendo Switch alone, you have games really going up to like 60 gigabytes. Just think about it though. 2005, 20 years ago, 10 megabytes were, pretty huge. And games such as Keitai Shoujo, they sold 400,000 units of that. So, they were trying to keep up with the evolution of mobile phones. They really tried. And it's just, things change. And I think, that when flip phones started to disappear from the market, Gmode had to partner with Aplix, a flip phone, platform developer, and they tried to survive by acquiring game and anime companies to transform itself to this new company called Gaia Holdings. And it was centered around Miyagi Takeshi, the Gmode president, but he passed away, and a lot of these companies were unable to handle the media anymore. Technology has just changed such at a rapid rate that it was very difficult, and unfortunately, you know, the company just couldn't. They couldn't survive. By 2012, they incurred a large deficit, and Gaia Holdings alone, um, it disbanded. So in 2014, Gmode ended up selling to One Up, and that one was the company owned by former Sega president Nakayama Hayao. And okay, just remember that 2014, Gmode and One Up merged to become Gmode, and then they started developing smartphone apps. But by 2015, Nakayama Hayao, who owned One Up and then merged it with Gmode, sold the company to Marvelous, a game company that was headed by Nakayama Haruki. And Marvelous is, such a popular, company right now that, um, one could say that, Gmode or the history of Gmode will continue to thrive because now the games, those classic games that people played back then, through that decade alone, that people loved growing up with. Well, now people have that opportunity to play those games, and Marvelous. They've been around. They make anime, they make video games. It's such a popular company, and I think if anything, you think about Tokyo Ghoul or Fate Extra. Um, there are other games such as Murder Princess, and you just think of those, and those were, or even the Precure, yeah, even the Precure, IP, that's also Marvelous. So you can say that Gmode will be fine. They'll be fine with Marvelous, and if anything, with the anniversary of Gmode, we are seeing a sell right now that's happening on Steam and Nintendo Switch. So one of the questions that you may have is, are these games purely in Japanese or will they have an English translation? More than likely, you will never see an English translation unless it's fan based translations that someone created and you can download. We do know that the one of the Persona games, the first Persona games, let me correct this. It's not the first Shin Megami Persona game, but it's the spin-off of the first game. That one's out and has received an English translation. So, what we're going to do right here, we're going to go to Nintendo's website. Majority of all Gmode games right now that have been re-released are on Nintendo Switch. As you can see here, Megami Ibunroku Persona. This is the first game spin-off that is now available, and this is important because there are people who are really wanting classic Atlas games. So people can get this game and also Majin Tensei Blind Thinker. It's on sale for 1080 yen right now, which is about what, $8 or so. But then you also have the release of the Last Bible series, which is the precursor of the Shin Megami Tensei 1 through 3. So you can definitely get those on sale. They're more of the more expensive G mode games. Right now, G mode you could get right now for 300 yen, which is about a dollar what 90 USD. The thing is though is that if you want to purchase these games, the question you may ask is Steam versus Nintendo Switch. Well, if you don't have Nintendo Switch, you're going to get the Steam version or vice versa. But there are differences that the Steam version, especially from the US, you're going to be paying for the US prices, which is low. Let's say $3, but if you can get it on Nintendo Switch because of the weakening yen, you can get it for $1.90. So that's why the way I look at that is you can get more games with your money by getting through Nintendo Switch. The second thing is if you want portability or you want, um, you know, yes, there is, Steam has its own, console, but the thing is, what's more important for you? Do you want to play it on a Nintendo Switch or do you want to play it on, Steam? For me, I don't have a Steam Deck, so I have it. I have it on Nintendo Switch. Majority of the games that are out, and I play it. Usually when I'm about to go to bed, it makes it a lot easier for me to do so. So yes, I do own the games, and I do. You know, I do prefer it on the Nintendo Switch versus Steam, but it's all it's all up to you. I pretty much am a big fan of the company. Um, there are games that I definitely did pick up on Switch. It's because of the pricing, but also because if there is a fan translation out for English, yeah, definitely supported on Steam. But a lot of the games are not. They're, I mean, for both platforms, they're still in Japanese. The question is, can I enjoy these games if I don't know Japanese? Uh, yes, for the most part, for the action games or the pachinko games, you can. But for the RPGs or the like these detective games that are heavy, they're based on heavy text, then probably not. Granted, you can, with today's technology, especially using Google Translate on your phone, then you could possibly enjoy it that way. But for the most part, it's subjective to the individual and your Japanese knowledge. For me, the Higawa Ryosuke games are very popular. These are out on both Steam and Nintendo Switch, but a lot of these other games are not available on the Switch. You'll find like City Connection Rocket, the car platformer on Switch, Glory of Hercules 3, which was a popular game back then. Ring Sengoku Rhythm Tengoku, I think it was called. Well, Tengoku Game Heaven, yeah. Um, this game is available on Steam, I think, and Switch. A lot of the shmups are on Steam, and and of course the Higawa, and probably one of their more popular RPG games, the Claudia games. Those are out on Switch and Steam, really cheap. I believe if you can look right here, let me just click on. First, we're gonna go look at these. Here we go. So you can see these bundles right here, and this is for the Kibukawa detective games. And you can see right here, you can get the whole bundle for, it says 6106, but there is a soundtrack that I did buy from Steam, which is $17 or close to $18. So it's almost $80 for all the games and the soundtrack. But again, it's up to you. The other game that let's see here. Let me bring it up right here. Here he goes. Okay, the Claudia games. So the Fry High Claudia games are one of the most popular RPG games to be on Gmode, um, on the Gmode service. And one of the cool things about this is that you can buy all games from Steam, all four games for $11.69, which is great. That's just 49% off. $2.99 again. If you get it on Switch, you're only paying $1.99. So the question is, you got to ask yourself, you'll save $4, but it's truly up to you. Um, I get my Nintendo points cards from PlayAsia. You pay maybe $1 or $2 more there, but then you get the game. You get these games so cheap these days that it's worth taking advantage of. But right now it's the anniversary sale, so a lot of things are cheaper. Sometimes you'll have to wait a long time. It just depends of how badly you want it, and the fact that this is out on Steam is definitely worth considering. But it all depends on you, what your preferences, if you play on your TV or you play mobile. You got the Momoko 1200 games. There's two of them. This one and a bowling game. You got the Ninja Jajamaru-kun right here. You got the classic Zanak, and you got the Dodonpachi shooters as well on Gmode. There's going to be a lot of other RPGs. You'll see the Mystia 1 and 2, The Day the Demon King Fell. I mentioned all games of Freiheit Claudia. Magical Phantasy System 1 and 2. You will find a lot of detective stories. A lot of people played those back then, and they were quite popular. So you'll find that. You'll also find a lot of other cool games, such as Mikuni Field Combat, Magical Drop DX, this Jaleco game right here with Moe Pro, Moeru Professional Baseball. You got this mini game right here, Ninja Gakko, which means school. Love Knuckle, which I did a video on. And some newer ones that are not on sale, such as Jaleco Super Tennis. But the Beach Volleyball Girls 1 through 3 are definitely worth it. Moe Slot Beach Drops, which features the volleyball game characters, they're in this pachinko-based game. Other than that, I think you got the Dragon 1 and 2, Dragon. You got this one, which is pretty cool, The Strongest in History, Miyamoto Julia. You got the O-Ranger Sentai game. You got the Sohida Series Festival. There's just so much, Gmode games that I think, if anything, it's a positive. You got some non cell phone games, such as these Digipla. I kind of look at it as like having the Pla rails, but digitally. You could create your own diorama. And of course, you got the Everyone Read games, but only a fraction of these are available on Steam. Majority of them are on Nintendo Switch. So yeah, so you pretty much get a lot of the games that were released by Gmode at the time. And you know, some people may ask, well, are there going to be more? I think there's still a chance that you'll definitely see more. I mean, again, 10 years of games, so I think you'll see certain games so slowly be released. But until then, I think, if anything, if you were a big fan of Gmode service, or you're just curious, it's worth trying out. If you don't know Japanese, definitely go for the more action oriented, where you don't have to read a lot. But if you definitely want to play the detective games or the RPG games, then definitely learn Japanese, or at least use it, a Google Translator device or something like that. So otherwise, that is about it. I think, if anything, Gmode are, these games, I'm glad they are out. The things that Gmode and what M2 and also Hamster have done for bringing these old school games out to Steam and Nintendo Switch is wonderful. Gmode is not going to be for everyone, because it is mobile phones, and I know some people don't like mobile phone games, especially early ones, you know. But for those who grew up with it, and those who have some nostalgia or are interested, then definitely check it out. Again, these games are not huge; they're not big. but you definitely want to get them on sale. You don't want to get them when they're full price. They do sometimes go on sale, but I can tell you right now, um, following Gmode, usually see one or two or three games. Today, right now is the time to get them because there's so many games on sale right now. Definitely worth considering. Okay, I think that's it, everyone. You all take care, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.